A movie called The White Helmets won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Short Subject. On the movie poster, we see the words, "To save a life is to save all of humanity." That sounds nice, but what does it mean? If someone's about to get hit by a car and I save him, how have I saved all of humanity? All of humanity wasn't about to die. So what sense does it make to say that if you save a life, you're saving all of humanity? Well, when we understand the source of the quotation, it actually makes perfect sense. The problem is that if you start asking people where that quotation comes from, many of them will say that it comes from the Quran. And that's what we hear in the acceptance speech. Director Orlando von Einsiedel reads a message from White Helmet's founder Raed al-Saleh, and millions of viewers get the following introduction to the Quran.
We're so grateful that this film has highlighted our work to the world. Our organisation is guided by a verse from the Quran. To save one life is to save all of humanity. We have saved more than 82,000 Syrian lives.
I have mixed feelings about responding here. On the one hand, the actual group of rescue workers called the White Helmets are heroes. When bombs start dropping in Syria, most people run away from the bombs. The White Helmets run towards the bombs to try to rescue as many people as possible. The short documentary, The White Helmets, follows three of these guys around as they try to save people. So part of me says, look, these guys are saving lives. If they think the Quran is against violence, let them think that. Who cares, as long as they're pulling children out of rubble and getting them to a hospital. On the other hand, the longer people continue to misrepresent what the Quran says, the longer the violence will continue, because no one's going to deal with the real source of the violence if they think that the Quran is all about saving lives. In other words, the White Helmets are dedicated to saving lives, but one of the best ways to save lives is to refute the lies about the Quran. Ironically, the filmmakers and actors at the Oscars, who are normally pretty clueless about everything that doesn't involve making films or pretending to be other people, should be some of the best informed people in the world when it comes to the quotation, "To save a life is to save all of humanity." They're the last people who should fall for, "This is what the Quran declares." Why? Because they've all seen Schindler's List, which won 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, and one of the most famous scenes in Schindler's List is where Schindler, a different kind of Oscar, is about to flee because he was a member of the Nazi Party. But all the Jews he saved give him a ring with a memorable inscription.
It's Hebrew from the Talmud. It says, whoever saves one life saves the world entire.
That's strange. The Jews think that this quotation comes from the Talmud. Maybe because it comes from the Talmud, Mishnah Sanhedrin chapter 4, where it makes perfect sense. It's a commentary on Genesis 4:10. In Genesis 4, Cain kills Abel, and God says to Cain in verse 10, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground." Jewish rabbis pointed out that the verse doesn't actually say your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. It says your brother's bloods, plural, cry out to me from the ground. The implication of the plural, bloods, is that it wasn't just Abel's blood crying out from the ground. It was the blood of all his future descendants. Abel would have had lots of children, and those children would have grown up and had children, and so on. So Cain wasn't just killing Abel, he was killing all of the future generations that would have come from Abel. And the rabbi commenting on this concludes that if you kill a man, you're killing an entire world, and that if you save a man, you're saving an entire world. The Jews of Arabia liked to quote this rabbi when they discussed the story of Cain and Abel, and not surprisingly, his words ended up in the Quran. Muslims like to point out that the Quran says, "To save a life is to save all of humanity," but they don't like to quote the actual verse because the actual verse states that this was a command for the children of Israel, the Jews. But let's read the entire passage so we can see why this verse makes absolutely no sense in the Quran. The passage begins in Surah 5, verse 27 of the Quran, a passage about Cain and Abel. And, O Muhammad, recite to them, to the Jews, the story of the two sons of Adam, Abel and Cain. In truth, when each offered a sacrifice to Allah, it was accepted from the one, but not from the other. The latter said to the former, I will surely kill you. The former said, Verily, Allah accepts only from those who are al-mutakun, the pious. If you do stretch your hand against me to kill me, I shall never stretch my hand against you to kill you. For I fear Allah, the Lord of the Alameen, the worlds of mankind, jinn, and all that exists. Verily, I intend to let you draw my sin on yourself, as well as yours. Then you will be one of the dwellers of the fire, and that is the recompense of the Zalamun, polytheists and wrongdoers. So the nafs, his ego, of the other, latter one, encouraged him and made fair seeming to him the murder of his brother. He murdered him and became one of the losers. Then Allah sent a crow who scratched the ground to show him to hide the dead body of his brother. He, the murderer, said, Woe to me! Am I not even able to be as this crow and to hide the dead body of my brother? Then he became one of those who regretted. And here we have the verse in question. Because of that, because of what? Because of something to do with the story of Cain and Abel, we ordained for the children of Israel. Notice that almost no one who quotes this verse ever reads this part, saying that it was for the children of Israel. That if anyone killed a person, not in retaliation of murder or to spread mischief in the land, it would be as if he killed all mankind. And if anyone saved a life, it would be as if he saved the life of all mankind. And indeed, there came to them our messengers with clear proofs, evidences, and signs. Even then, after that, many of them continued to exceed the limits, e.g. by doing oppression unjustly and exceeding beyond the limits set by Allah by committing the major sins in the land. Now, how does any of that follow from the story of Cain and Abel? In the Talmud, a Jewish rabbi draws attention to a Hebrew word, the word bloods, and he makes the case that God is telling us that if you kill someone, you're actually killing far more people than you think. But that discussion is missing from the Quran. So how do you get from Cain killed Abel and a bird came along to show Cain how to hide the body to the claim that to kill a person is to kill all mankind and to save a person is to save all mankind? Makes no sense in the Quran, and this is yet another example of Muhammad plagiarizing without really understanding what he's plagiarizing. For the children of Israel.
David Wood farther argues that Muslims who cite Quran, chapter 5, verse 32, where Allah, the God, condemns the killing of innocent, are misquoting Quran, as the verse was actually stolen from the books of the Jews. Even in the beginning of this verse, the God says it was revealed to the children of Israel. Let's take a closer look at the verses to understand what these verses are really saying. Verse 32 and 33 of chapter 5 of Quran was revealed with the example of sons of Adam, Cain and Abel. Verse 27 to 31 speaks about the event when one brother killed another brother. Then it states in verse 32, "Because of that, we decreed upon the children of Israel that whoever kills a soul, unless for a soul or for corruption done in the land, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely. And whoever saves one, it is as if he had saved mankind entirely. And our messengers had certainly come to them with clear proofs. Then indeed, many of them, even after that, throughout the land, were transgressors." Muslims believe that Allah, the God, have sent many messengers to every nation and every generation to guide mankind. And prophets like Abraham, Moses, David, Solomon, etc. are mentioned in the Quran and are accepted as true messengers of the God by the Muslims. The God mentioned these prophets and their history to educate Muslims, for teaching lessons and morals. Therefore, this verse is not nullified as guideline for the Muslims just because this verse was revealed to previous generation of the children of Israel as guideline. As Allah the God have mentioned this verse also in the Quran, this verse has become a guideline and a way of life for the Muslims.
And search for truth.
A careful study of the Muslim sources. What can we do to stop the deception and misdirection so that we can eventually have an open, honest discussion? Verse 33 is a command for Muslims. Allah says, "The recompense of those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger and do mischief in the land is only that they shall be killed or crucified, or their hands and their feet be cut off from opposite sides, or be exiled from the land. That is their disgrace in this world, and a great torment is theirs in the hereafter." They shall be killed or crucified or dismembered or exiled. For what? For waging war against Allah. How do you make war against Allah? By making mischief in the land, opposing Sharia, promoting the wrong religion, promoting the wrong sect of Islam, leaving Islam, wearing the wrong clothes, etc. the Shias are making mischief in the land. We have to kill them. No, the Sunnis are making mischief in the land. We have to kill them. No, the secularists are making mischief in the land. We have to kill them. No, the Christians are making mischief in the land. We have to kill them. ISIS jihadis are doing exactly what Surah 5, verse 33 of the Quran commands.
What about the blue roads with the big numbers?
Those are rivers.
The rivers?
Yeah.
We could get a boat.
Boats are dangerous.
Misrepresentation and deception.
The teaching for Muslims is given in the next verse, chapter 5, verse 33 of the Quran. If anyone strives to create mischief in the land against Allah or His Prophet, crucify him, or kill him, or cut off his hands and feet, or exile him. That's what is taught for those who challenge Islam in the Quran.
Verse 33 is about what Muslims are supposed to do if someone commits the vague crime of doing mischief. If you do mischief in a Muslim land, Muslims are supposed to kill you or crucify you, or for lesser crimes, chop off body parts or exile you. So what counts as mischief? Lots of things. Apostasy, preaching a religion other than Islam, adultery, becoming too westernized, things like that. If you violate Sharia, you're making mischief.
And strive to make mischief in the land.
Jesus said that in the future people will come under my name, but they are only scoundrels. They are wolves in the clothes of sheep, and be careful of them as they are wolves.
Good point.
Now what are Muslims commanded? Next verse. The punishment of those who wage war against Allah and His apostles and strive to make mischief in the land. So if you're a Christian and you're a dhimmi and you wear a cross one day, suddenly you fall into this category. If you rebuild the roof of your church because it's falling in and you're getting wet during your service, you suddenly fall into this category. Make mischief in the land. What's the penalty? Only this, that they should be murdered or crucified, or their hands and their feet should be cut off on opposite sides, or they should be imprisoned. This shall be as a disgrace for them in this world, and in the hereafter they shall have a grievous chastisement.
Whilst you're all face-palming, let me tell you, that fella, his name is David Wood. He makes stuff up about Islam on a regular basis. We correct him on a regular basis. Dave, if you could lend me your ears, we need to remove this lie from your bag of tricks.
Good point.
The verse he speaks about has nothing to do with church roofs or wearing crosses. It was revealed concerning a group of people who had committed the serious crime of murder and theft. Serious highway robbery.
Good point.
The tafsir of Ibn Kathir, it actually said that this verse was revealed. It is in Sahih Bukhari and in Sahih Muslim. This verse was revealed about some men who had fell ill. They came to the prophet, peace be upon him, seeking some aid in their illness. He gave them instructions on how to cure themselves. After they were cured, they then proceeded to go out and rob and kill a man.
And strive to make mischief in the land.
Not only do the commentaries tell us this chap is lying through his back teeth, but also Islamic jurisprudence tells us a similar story, as Islamic jurisprudence uses this verse as a guide to punish those who do commit the serious crime of highway robbery. Jurists may also use this verse as a guide with regards to punishing other serious crimes, such as rape at gun or knife point. I hope you can see we are talking about serious crimes, which have the potential to cause fear and panic amongst communities. We are not talking about fixing leaky roofs.
Good point.
If you rebuild the roof of your church because it's falling in and you're getting wet during your service.
So the experts, that's the commentators and jurists, show us this fella is a church roof short of a parish. Not only that, but Muslim societal norms militate against this man's nonsense. Have a look at the picture. That's the Pope in a Muslim country adorning a cross. I just don't see anybody trying to hack off his limbs for wearing the cross.
Good point.
That's the church of Ilyas in Damascus. Never mind fixing church roofs. That church was built in the 1800s. And since then, it has undergone 2 complete renovations. Perhaps this dishonest man would like to rummage through the basement for dismembered bodies and torture squads, whilst the informed laugh at his absurdity.
And you wear a cross one day, suddenly you fall into this category.
We need to remove this lie from your bag of tricks.
Now let's look at verse 33. Indeed, the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger and strive upon earth to cause corruption is none, but that they be killed or crucified, or that their hands and feet be cut off from opposite sides, or that they be exiled from the land. That is for them a disgrace in this world, and for them in the hereafter is a great punishment. Those who wage war against Allah means forcing the worshippers of Allah, Muslims, to worship other things with Allah or instead of Allah, or stopping Muslims from worshipping Allah. And His Messenger means here stopping the messengers of the God from propagating the God's message. The message is, there is only one God who is above the comprehension of His creation, and to this God all will have to answer for their deeds on the day of judgment, which is inevitable. And it is an obligation on every Muslim who has received the message of Allah to convey the message of Allah and guide mankind. Strive upon earth to cause corruption means commission of crimes like murder, rape, robbery, etc. They be killed or crucified, or that their hands and feet be cut off from opposite sides, or that they be exiled from the land. That is for them a disgrace in this world, and for them in the hereafter is a great punishment. In this last part of the verse, the God is giving guidelines to penalize criminals based on their extremeness of crime. No verse in the Quran allows Muslims to kill non-Muslims unless it be in a battlefield or to avoid attack. In fact, according to these 2 verses, 32 and 33, a Muslim will be penalized with death penalty for killing a non-Muslim, which is taking a life which is equal to the killing of the whole of humanity. The Messenger of Allah, Muhammad, said in his hadith, Allah will not be merciful to those who are not merciful to mankind. And Allah said in the Quran, perhaps Allah will make friendship between you and those whom you hold as enemies, and Allah has power over all things, and Allah is often forgiving, most merciful. Allah does not forbid you to deal justly and kindly with those who fought not against you on account of religion and did not drive you out of your homes, Verily, Allah loves those who deal with equity. It is only as regards those who fought against you on account of religion, and have driven you out of your homes, and have helped to drive you out, that Allah forbids you to befriend them. And whosoever will befriend them, then such are the Zalimun, oppressors. The good deed and the evil deed cannot be equal. Repel the evil with one which is better. Then verily he between whom and you there was enmity will become as though he was a close friend.
Like, share, and subscribe to create awareness.